A story is told of a Zen master who was known for his brilliant teachings. One day he asked his disciples a question on how they could tell that the night is over and a new day has begun. One of the disciples said, "You can tell when you see an animal at a distance and can tell whether it's a cow or a donkey." Then the Zen master said, "No." The second disciple made his attempt and said, "You can tell that the night is over when you see a tree at a distance and able to identify whether it's a mango tree or a guava tree." And the master said, "No." At this point, the disciples did not know what to say. All they could do was to ask the master, "If it is not in this way, then how do you see that the night is over and a new day has begun?" The master said, "You can tell when you look into the face of any human being and recognize your brother or sister in him or her. If you cannot do this, then know that no matter what time it is by the sun, it is still night, it is still dark." What a beautiful response. This is what Jesus is emphasizing in the gospel today, that love your neighbor as yourself. You should see yourself in your neighbor. Perhaps we should ask ourselves, did you ever ask yourself why we should do that? We often ask ourselves how we should do it, but do we ask why we should do it? We should do it because we are all together in this creation. In your essence, you are the dwelling place of God. So is your neighbor. You might not feel God's presence, but that does not mean God is absent. Your neighbor as well might not feel God's presence, but that does not mean that she or he is not carried by God's love. We belong together. You and I, we belong to God. When we are one like this as one creation, we can see God and Christ in everyone. And you might even go further and say, we ourselves are in the heart of everyone. What we do for one another is done to ourselves. When another is hurt, we are all hurt. When one is persecuted, when one of us is persecuted, we are all persecuted. We can repeat in our lives the words of Jesus. Anything done to any of my sisters and brothers is done unto me.